Okay, yeah, I was in college, and I had had a lot of stress in my childhood with my family, and I also was really a spiritual person from pretty much the beginning. Um, and I think that I got to a point where I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in college. It was my third year of college, and I wasn't sure if it was right for me to continue. I just was having so much intense spiritual awakening, and that felt like more important to me than college at that time. So I wasn't feeling really trusting of my family, and they were starting to, I guess, pathologize the things that I was doing or experiencing. So they were feeling scared, and I was also having some health issues. So for me, like the physical health issues and that other sort of meltdown and spiritual awakening were all kind of combined together. So it was sometimes hard to know, like different things were labeled, like some things that were physical issues were labeled something else, and I think initially I knew that all the labels were not for me. Like I didn't want labels or medications, but eventually when I was on a bunch of medications, I started to just not care. And I became extremely apathetic and tired while I was on those drugs. And eventually I actually lost my awareness that I didn't want to be on them. So I thought that I would have to be on them forever and that I was mentally ill. I never thought I was mentally ill except for when I was on those drugs. But then I started to realize that my mind wasn't functioning, like it wasn't really working very well. So, and I didn't realize it was because of the drugs that I was on. But eventually I went back to college, and that was also where it was clear to me, I was still on some of those drugs, and it was clear to me that my mind wasn't really functioning well enough, because I knew that I wasn't writing clearly, I wasn't communicating clearly. It was just completely different from how I had been before. And my teachers in school, weren't happy with my work, which had never really happened to me before that. So, but I did eventually get off of them, and I found a group in Massachusetts called the Freedom Center, which was a group of people who had also had a similar type of experience of being labeled with a psychiatric diagnosis and maybe not finding the treatment that worked for them, not being satisfied or happy with the way that they were treated. And then that actually was a big blessing, because I started to talk about what I had experienced and developed a community, and we started traveling, around the country and the world, talking about what we were doing, which was creating a different type of community. And we got a lot of grant funding for different things. We offered free yoga and acupuncture and writing groups and support groups and all different things to the community. So I was really involved with that. And then I just recently moved to Portland about 7 months ago and reconnected with Will Hall, who was one of the founders of the Freedom Center. And he's been doing Portland Hearing Voices here in Portland for the past few years. He moved here a few years ago to go to the Process Work Institute. So now I've been facilitating Portland Hearing Voices groups and doing other work as well. And I feel like my life, since that whole experience, I should also say that while I was having that whole year of being bedridden, for 3 months I had a fever, and I didn't have an infection or anything. I didn't have anything, just a fever. My doctor put me on all kinds of antibiotics. None of them did anything. He tested me for everything. There was nothing going on. But I think that whole experience for me really was a spiritual awakening. And during that time, it was like going on some kind of retreat. Like I was it's hard to explain, but I was having a very sort of disembodied kind of experience of reality, because I didn't really do anything or connect with people very much during that time. But I did feel like it was some kind of spiritual opening, and like I never was the same after that. Like I feel like it changed me like on a core level, and in some ways it probably made me stronger, like in my soul, or on some level that I can't really explain, but it helped me to know something that I didn't know before that. And it probably made me more open. I think overall, though, the biggest thing that I got out of my experiences was to know that what the mental health system tells me, I can't take that at face value. I have to listen to my own feelings and listen to other people, but like listen to different people, but not just take the mental health system party lines as gospel or as the truth or as anything. I mean, I never did, but I think that before I had that experience, there was always part of me that thought that maybe I actually am crazy. But after that, I realized that it doesn't matter. Like, there's no real definition of crazy, and that there is no solid, line where somebody is or isn't crazy. And or same with any of the labels. Same with schizophrenic or bipolar or depressed or anything. There's no actual clear line that says you are or aren't. It's always a spectrum, and it's always up for interpretation. And it's only one model of looking at reality. It's only one model of looking at our life experiences. It's the Western medical model, and there's so many other models. There's so many other models for how we can look at our lives. And so now I never look at my life from the Western medical model. I mean, that's like the farthest, from my thinking, actually, to be honest. So thanks.